All right, welcome back to Bayou Time, and as you can see on the set with us now is Keith Blanchard. Before we get to Keith, though, I do need to make an announcement, which I apologize I didn't have a chance to get to with all the callers. The Sidney Scott Simmons Benefit Run and Bike Blessing will be June the 25th, 2011. Registration will be at the Little Caillou Fire Department. It's $20 per bike and $10 per rider. They will be $20 per bike, $10 per rider. Auction door prizes, half and half, food, music by Signal 19 at Performance Suzuki. For pre-registration, donations, or more information, you can call Dallas at 985-665-7660. Again, this is the Sidney Scott Simmons Benefit Run and Bike Blessing. He's a former law enforcement officer who we lost too early in our area, and it's being presented by the Brothers in Blue, which is basically just a bike organization made up of different members of law enforcement and whatnot. So it'll be the Benefit Run and Bike Blessing, June 25th, 2011. And we'll have more information on this throughout the week. Registration begins at 9 a.m. June 25th. First bike out and bike blessing at 9:30 a.m. Last bike out will be at 10:30 a.m. Last bike in at 3 p.m. and the auction, which they'll have, will be at 4 p.m. So that's the Sidney Scott Simmons Benefit Run and Bike Blessing. All right, and joining us now is Keith Blanchard, a familiar face to the set of Bayou Time, and we welcome him back to the program. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you, sir, for having me. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Why don't we just re-educate everyone, if you will, about your career and what you're doing now as a spiritual teacher, a speaker, a musician, a composer, a guitarist, an author now. What's new with Keith Blanchard right now?
I'm always creating something. It's what brings me joy. I had the Divine Principle a few years ago, went bestseller, and then followed the Divine Principle was the workbook. Okay. Which is self-reflection workbook.
All right.
And then I have a Thought for the Day book, which is also a companion to the three, making a trinity, so to speak. I'm always recording music with my spiritual original group, Lavender Soul. I had a company from New York about 2 years ago. They read my book before it went bestseller, and they called me and they said, we're looking to do a documentary on someone who lives their passion. And they said, you're the guy. So they came down to Memphis, and we filmed the documentary for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So this is probably going to show up in the public view in about 4 or 5 months, 6 months at most.
All right. And let's talk a little bit about that documentary, because is it based on the Divine Principle?
The documentary at first was going to be using my life as the example for people who don't feel they can go out there and live their passion and do what they love and earn a living at. I talk to musicians all the time. When I meet someone in public, when I network, when I play out, I ask them 3 questions. 1, what's your name? 2, what do you do? And 3, do you like what you do? Mm-hmm. 85% loathe what they do.
Really?
And I ask them, why are you doing it? And of course the response is because of the money. Mm-hmm. And someone may say, well, I would love to handle flowers, but I can't do that. So well, you go to the florist down the street. So there's a belief in the consciousness of at least America that we can't do what we love and make a good living at it. And the movie started off as my life being the example, the way show for supporting that you can. Okay. But I didn't want the movie to be about me, look at what Keith has achieved. I wanted the movie to be a little more substantial. And so we started including a lot of the work from the Divine Principle into the script.
Okay, and you mentioned the Divine Principle, just to remind people, what was that book based on?
That book was based on an experience I had in 1996. I was going through a dark night of the soul, so much so, I humbled myself and basically started saying a prayer out loud. I need to hear your voice, meaning God. And I said this prayer for about a month, but I don't think it was the length of time that I said this prayer as to what was to happen, happened. It was my passion and my sincerity and my very first asking. And one night, one morning, after a night of playing music, I was awakened out of my sleep by a voice. And I thought someone was in my home, so I looked up as anyone would, and there was no one there. I lay back in the bed with the intention of going to sleep. And the voice spoke again, and it was inside of me. And I sat up in bed surprised, and the voice threw me back on the bed, and I found myself submerged, surrounded, embraced by this divine light. It was everywhere, all the time. It was everything. And when it would converse to me, it wasn't in a linear thought pattern. It was more like what I would call whole thought.
Okay.
It was an impression, and in this impression was everything that it wanted. And what it wanted was go on the sofa, press record in the tape player, and let your mouth move. And I said, what will I speak about? It said, trust me, the words will come. And so over a period of 8 years, that became the divine principle.
Okay.
And it's doing quite well. Really excited.
All right. Well, good. So it actually, there's a transcription of many of the conversations that you've had in your experience with God, I guess, is the divine principle, as you would say. And ever since having that experience, I mean, did that one experience change your life?
Absolutely. When the initial experience occurred, it was like I was being impregnated with information. And over a period of 8 years, truly, certain events would happen in my life that would truly be the answers to the questions I would pose. I may have a question about why do little children get sick and die? Mm-hmm. And, we can come up with many ideas. But I wanted what felt correct to me.
Right.
And you and I might be hanging out somewhere having a bite of food, and someone in a booth behind us may be talking and peripherally overhear it. And I knew it was the answer that I was supposed to write by the way it made me feel. And so from that initial experience, my life became an unfoldment of miracles in physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Just things turned over for me in a very short amount of time.
Okay. And so through this documentary, have you shared also your experiences with other people and kind of seen, if these people are starting to follow their dreams and listening to, their hopes and their dreams and pursuing that as well?
There are people who are giving testimonies about those who have read the work and how it has changed their life and how it has worked for them. And they also talk about me as a person and how I've influenced their life in other ways. It's just, it's very rewarding to see people respond or their life change because of something that you've done, a touch, a gesture, a word, a look. It's just very, very rewarding for me.
Let's talk, before we run out of time, about the children's book you have coming out as well. What's the title of it?
Eden, Sky Wonders Why. It's the name of my son. He's the inspiration. A very curious little boy he is. And so the book is modeled after him, and it just reveals the curious, big questions that kids ask. Some of those questions may be uncomfortable. For example, the first book is How Do I Get to Heaven? The second book is Where Do Kids Come From? I mean, how do parents go about telling their children where kids come from? But it talks about it in a very spiritually balanced, educational kind of way, and fun way for the child as well, so he can absorb the information.
Okay, that sounds excellent. Where can someone obtain the children's books?
As of now, the book will be out in about a month.
Okay.
You can contact me at thedivineprinciple.com. If you go there, there's an opt-in box. Fill out the opt-in box. I would love to give you free gifts. I'm all about free gifts. I love empowering people. It's what I'm about.
All right. And in addition to going with the divine principle, you have your daily workbook, if you will, for individuals.
Yes.
Where can they obtain those?
Thedivineprinciple.com.
Okay.
Right now we're on hold until this movie gets released and we can do this push. And while I'm in town, I'm going to be playing music while I'm here. Tomorrow night I'm going to be at Hard Racks from 9 to 1. Thursday I'm going to be at La Casa on Grand Calle Road.
All right.
From 6 to 10, I believe. And Friday I'm going to be at casinos from 8 to midnight.
Okay, all right. And will you be playing solo or what?
Yeah, I'm going to do an acoustic set.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. And how long are you in town, back in town for?
I'm going to be here through Saturday, possibly Sunday, but most likely Saturday. Just visiting with family who lives down in Dularge.
Right. So if everybody would like to come out, meet you, hear about your experience personally, listen to your music, they can go to one of those locations and check you out.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Keith, we thank you for joining us again. We wish you all the best.
Thank you, Jason.
And we appreciate you sharing your stories with us as well.
Thank you kindly.
All right. With that, we'll take a break. Want to remind you, coming up after the break, Cooking with Canadas will be here. That will be the segment with Chef Tony DeSalvo, and also Joni Petrie will be on the set. Cooking with Canadas in the kitchen. And we do want to remind you all about visiting the HTV website. That's htv10.tv for more of your news information. And at 7:30, A Woman's Perspective with Dr. Laura Batto. She will have Barbara Bush via phone to talk about different topics. Ms. Bush will be a keynote speaker at the Louisiana Girls Leadership Academy coming up. So Dr. Laura will have an interview with Barbara Bush, and then Stan Gravois will take you home with sports. So I'll bid you adieu for tonight and see you back on Thursday night. I want to thank all the callers, and check us out at htv10.tv.